So the subject of today conversation is how to create emails that your prospect wants to reply to. And I want to introduce you a data-driven approach to creating such emails. So before jumping into this topic, I just want to briefly introduce myself. I'm originally from Poland, so I'm born and raised there, so I grew up in Europe as well. I started my career in KPMG management consulting, moved to the US in 2012 for my MBA. After the MBA, I launched Link. Link was, because right now it's totally on hold, but a full service agency that was helping companies to tap into the US market by acquiring the first customers for them. So that's where I got exposed to the emails, cold emails for the first time. And the methodology that I was using is account-based outbound outreach. And in terms of like the biggest success, I think it's Prolly. It's a PR SaaS from Poland that recently was acquired by Semrush, and I was the person who acquired first 10 customers for them in the US. After Link, I wanted to work more with US-based companies versus Europeans. So that's why I did a lot of work for Outbound Works and Winning by Design. Thanks to them, I was able to work with the companies like TripAction, Marketo, Centlar, Cloudinary, and so on, and creating really outbound sequences, but also working on the playbook design, ICP development, and everything from like the sales and sales development and sales perspective. And this year I launched PlaybookWiz. This PlaybookWiz help you to turn conversations into messaging. And why I created Playbook was created based on basically all of everything that I did and learned since 2014 and working with the B2B companies. And I'm super happy to see that you guys are thinking about talking about a no code, because actually I am building, I mean, Playbook is built totally on no code. So Bubble, and I'm looking right now at for the AI piece for Monkey Learn, that also is AI that is totally no code. So I'm super enthusiastic about it. Anyway, but let's jump to the, so let's get started. So I will walk you through, at first I have a few slides that I will introduce you to the subject and also like walk you through why I created the whole approach. I will introduce the approach, and then I'm going to dive deep into the approach, and then of course, there will be questions at the end. So I don't know if there's any questions right now. If not, I will just jump into it.
I have a question. Which slide you are on right now?
On about me, or
okay, no. So we see still the title slide.
Oh, that's
If you're using presenter mode, you have to share the presenter mode, not the browser window.
Wait. Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Can you?
Now we can.
Okay, so that wait. So
use the arrow keys.
I know. Okay, so that's the slide that I was talking about, and you guys didn't see it. Yeah, sorry about it. Okay, so let's jump into it. So I want to start from like very high level perspective, like why people buy. I mean, not why people buy, sorry, like how people buy. So buyers actually don't care about your product. They only care about their problems. That being said, if you want to start a conversation with a buyer, you technically don't have to even mention the name of your company, because the buyer is interested in a problem. So you should be telling this person, hey, here is your problem and I have a solution, and you should focus on explaining that solution, and it not necessarily even you need to put a name on it. So I give that extreme example because that's how you really want to start the conversation with the buyer. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Another piece of the puzzle is that the buyer buys with emotions and then justify with logic. And what it means in especially into B2B environment is that you need to appeal to the persona self-interest, emotion, that means emotion, and then back it up by business outcomes, meaning logic. I will be talking about it a little bit more farther away, but at this point, this is how I just want to leave it here. So getting back to the fact that buyers only care about their problem, they ask salespeople to understand me. Understand my business, know me. So this is where this emotional or rational approach comes in. They ask, demonstrate excellent communication skills, focused on post sales. For most of salespeople, they look at the sales process and it's like, I just want to push deal forward and just be done. But for your buyer, actually, when they sign the contract, that's when everything starts for them. So that's why they are mostly interested to hear what is going to happen and how it's going to happen when they sign this deal. And the fourth thing is give me insights and perspective. And those 4 points was taken from the survey launched by CSO Insight in the US in 2014. So again, this is the feedback from the buyers. And this 4 element, what buyers want from salespeople, align with four main elements, key elements of any email. So any successful email needs to be relevant, needs to be clear, needs to show value, needs to educate or build trust. And this is something that you probably, all of you learn about, you were reading about, that's how emails needs to be, that's the element of any successful element. And that's true. And that's totally true. And you always need to do it. But the thing is that you are reading about all those formulas or all those templates. So for example, here I have a email template by one of the consulting companies from here from San Francisco. And basically their approach to creating an email is summarize value, show empathy, offer value, offer value, and offer to collaborate with them. And then they give you this beautiful email that they are claiming that it's very successful. And yes, it is very successful. But they are not telling you one thing why this email is successful. This email is successful because it speaks buyer language. And the reason why it's important to speak buyer language, because the most accurately you describe the buyer problems in terms they can relate to, the more instinctively they feel that you must have answer to those problems. And here bring us back to the beginning of the presentation about the emotional problems and then the rational problems, because you can really distinguish, the buyer will really know that you know the difference if you describe emotional problems properly and rational problems properly. So that being said, those things all need to come together at once. If you have everything what it's on the left, you probably are getting good open rates, maybe some click rates, but probably reply rates potentially are not where you want it to be. The same is, for example, if you, for example, know some kind of some elements of the buyer language, but for example, you are not putting them in the context of what it's on the left, what we have on the left, then people may not even open your email. So those things need to come together. And this is how they are actually coming together. So you need to take the problem, the big problem. You need to take the buyer language, and then you need to distinguish. You need to take the key elements of the emails, but then you need to distinguish them from the emotional side and then the rational side. and you always start with the emotional side. And here I put those connectors, not arrows, because you can connect those things in different way. There is no way, right or wrong way to do it, but you just always need to connect those two things. And now getting back to the email example that I just showed you, here is how it works. So yes, we do have this, that's the same template that you saw above, the same, the same template, but here you can see the difference. Proof marketing is a revenue center. This appeals to your more emotional, like you need to prove yourself. Then the email describes your emotional problem. So your marketing strategy, turn upside down. Turn upside down. This is something that buyers, for example, are using. It's like, okay, he knows that, he knows me. And then, the turn upside down, and there is now an even tougher spotlight to justify reason for marketing to exist. And this is a sentence that really, like, if you are the buyer, it's like, oh my God, this is just, yes, this is me. And then, we are learning planning execution cycles are now in days or weeks instead of months. So again, you just show this person again how you know them. And then you are going to, for example, to offering a value, and still you are, for example, here you are telling the story about other customers, but again, you use the buyer language. She was struggling to demonstrate marketing results and make smart decisions about what programs were driving the most impact. Yes, and then, but then the important thing is it's followed by the rationale. Okay, and her team right now can make better decisions and drive 2.5 return on marketing investment. That's super rational. So as you see, it's always about having two components in the email, but they can be mixed together. So why it's also like another conclusion why it's important to speak buyer language, because your best copy is sitting in your customer mind. And that's how I created this framework to help you extract this copy from the customer mind. So the framework that I'm going to introduce you, like right now, I just want to talk about it very brief, maybe take some questions, and then I'm going to dig deeper into each of the 6 points. So how to get this copy from your customer mind? First of all, you need to collect the conversation, and here, very important thing, it's about the market segment, because it's about understand my business, know me. So you need to collect conversation from the right segments and personas. Extract and classify snippets. Snippets basically are the key phrases from the conversation Then pick a template, because again, template and formulas are still very important, because that's how everything comes together in the step 4. So you take the templates, you inject the snippets, and you basically moving from being an email copywriter to being an email editor, and that's save tons of time. Then you need to constantly support this process with gathering market intelligence, and that's basically by asking the right questions during the conversation. And then step number 6, you need to constantly optimize it. You need to constantly optimize it because, first of all, the buyers are changing faster than your messaging. So whenever you see that your emails are not performing, you need to act on it. Or if you are just starting, for example, the first, like when you're starting sending cold emails, the first target is getting more around 10% reply rate. So you need to keep optimizing until you at least get that result. So I want to stop here and take and if you have any question to the first half, I'm happy to answer them, because right now what I wanted to do after is dig deeper into 6 of these elements. Any questions? Mari, because I know you are the moderator.
I didn't get any questions yet in the chat.
Okay.
So guys, feel free to ask any questions in the chat, or at this point, you can also just unmute yourself and start talking.
Okay, since there is no
Wow,
question.
that was super clear.
Okay, so I hope that it means that everything is clear. So not that it's so confusing that no one knows what to ask. So
I have a question, Kaya, here.
Yes.
Quickly, is that what is the difference between this framework that you're going to introduce us versus the other frameworks we see all over the web, which are talking about how to structure your email and what to how long it should be, and how to write headlines or subject lines and so on and so forth, because there is a lot of content already out there in respect to how to write outbound emails. What is the key difference between what we're going to talk about next versus what we already see every day?
Yes. So as I showed you the example before, everything what you are seeing right now on the web, on internet, it's most talking about how you should structure your email, meaning whether you should, for example, use 2 call to actions, or for example, maybe you should have a short subject line, like 3 words, 5 words, question mark, personalized. In terms of the email formulas, in most cases they are telling you, like it was in the example there above, they are telling you about start with the empathy, then show the value, then collaborate. But none of them are telling you, okay, but this is exactly what you should write in each of these emails. So it's not that those frameworks are wrong. There is just a piece that is actually helped all those frameworks to be more successful, if that makes sense. Did I answer your question?
So if I understand right, they're talking about how to create an overall structure of the email and what should be there, how long it should be, but they're not talking about what should be in that sentence within
Yes.
that structure.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
should be the words we should use?
Yes, or they are telling you, like, you should A/B test this or this, but then again, like, but what exactly I should put it? The fact that someone is telling you that you should A/B test something, it doesn't mean that you know actually what to put in those tests. I will be talking about it a little bit later as well, but yeah, that's exactly what you are.
Okay, awesome. Looking forward to hear more about how exactly to figure out what words to use,
Yes,
which is hard.
Yes. So I will be diving deeper in 6 of this subject right now. I just want to say that each of these 6 subjects could be a separate talk. That being said, I try to keep it short and as clear as possible. But of course, as I said, I could have a separate talk on each of those subjects. So please have it in mind when you see when we are going to talk about it. So first step, collect conversation. So the most important thing to actually, not only in this step, but for the whole framework, is to have a proper market segmentation and the buyer personas. And the reason why, because you cannot be relevant, like the relevancy doesn't work without those two elements. And what a lot of companies do wrong is they, for example, focus only on market segments, or focus only on buyer personas. But if you really want to speak a buyer language, and then especially from the irrational emotional pain point, this is not possible if you stay on too high level. So that being said, from the market segmentation, you should look at your current customer in terms of industry, for example, software. Vertical is very important, because if you have an industry software, you have multiple verticals within that. And for example, during the recent pandemic, there were some industries that were impacted. For example, travel, like TripActions, but there was another one that were thriving, like Zoom. So you need to adjust. You need to adjust basically to verticals. Then there is a size of the company also matters, because that will straight correlate to the buyer persona and the responsibilities of the buyer personas. In a smaller companies, a person could have more responsibilities. In the bigger companies, the person have less responsibilities and a bunch of people that do things for them. And that also implies different pain points. Even at the end of the day, it could seem that it's the same pain point. The person is going to experience this pain point in a different way. And then geography, again, that's also important. Yeah, I mean, especially in Europe. And then in terms of the buyer persona, of course, here you need to know the job titles. I mean, segment them by the job titles, because that mostly because you want to learn about their responsibilities and then their role in the buying process. Because especially with the emails, you want to focus on people who normally initiate the conversation, but you also want to be aware of what other people from the buying community, committee talk about. So that's in terms of the segmentation. And then, once when you know from who you want the calls conversation, then you simply just need to check what do you currently have. So calls and customer interviews. I know from Mari that recording calls, it's not that common in Europe. It's very common in the US. So that's why, in the US, we are more relying on calls. But another way to extract to another conversation that is very important are emails and also customer support chat. Yes, so that's it. I will be coming back to the conversation piece a little bit farther away, but that's it for now. How you need to collect. So to sum up, you need to define segment, very narrow segment, and the buyer persona, and then get the past conversation with the people who met the criteria of the segment. So that's the step one. Second, extract and classify snippets. So here you need to, when you have those conversations, you need to identify the parts when your prospects are talking about the challenges and needs. This is basically, it's indicated. It's most cases it's followed by the question from the salesperson, and I will be talking about those questions in a step 5.1. So yeah, you need to identify, because, for example, if you have a demo, it's not always, you don't have to check everything. It's most typically those questions, the people are answering those questions at the beginning of the call. So there's no point going into all the to go through the whole call conversation. And for example, the same is with the chat. You don't want to read through all the troubleshooting. Just go straight to the question that the person asked. Then extract the full sentence, because again, those full sentence we will use those full sentence as the snippets or phrases to inject into emails, and then extract the keywords for the analytics. And those things could be done in an Excel spreadsheet, basically, if you build it that way. So that's the step number one. The step number two is assign tags. Tags will help you to navigate through those phrases when you are creating it and when you are creating the emails. And the basic set of tags that I recommend is, of course, emotional pain points, rational pain points, status quo meaning that description, how they do things right now without your tool. And then the consequences. So consequences are negative consequences. So to give you, I don't know, like to give you an example. So for example, if we take a CRM, the status quo could be, I'm doing everything in the spreadsheet. I track all my sales in the spreadsheet. And as a result, not only I waste a lot of time, but also, I'm losing a lot of deals because I cannot track them, so those are like negative consequences. And then you wanna know about the needs. So the impact, what is the impact that they are looking for? So for example, again, in the CRM example, it could be, yes, I want to, I'm spending 2 hours or 3 hours per day. I want to spend only 30 minutes per day to do it. And also the outcome, and the outcome is more description. So again, for example, I just want to have track my sales very easily, so that's that's more description of that. And another thing is that you wanna track. It's also questions from your customers and prospects, because this will also help you to create the content that they really are interested in. So they, for example, ask you like, hey, what's your opinion about I don't know, adding this feature to the CRM, so then you will, okay, so this person is interested in that, maybe I should write an article about it, or any other type of content. So that's in terms of the tags. And then there is another piece to that, is to create a supporting snippets or phrases. So right now you for sure have customer stories, you for sure have some content, but for the emails, you need to have you need snippets from the customer stories and from content. So when you are putting email together, you have, okay, so this is the buyer language, this is how I can add value, and this is how I can show my insights, and again, this is the formula, and this is how I connect everything together. So again, in terms of the creating supporting snippets, it's not actually creating them from scratch. It's just take what you have, customer story, content, and just extract things that are relevant in terms of the tags or the phrases that you identified. So so that's the step number two. And then we are going into the templates. So here are two types of templates: sequence templates and email templates. So whenever you actually wanted to start writing a sequence, it's best to start by planning it, meaning how many steps, what type of steps, and what do you wanna present on the steps. So here I added a screenshot from Salesforce. That's another consulting company from San Francisco. So they basically, in terms of the touches, 15 touches, you have a mix of call, email, social, and even the direct mailers. But here they also give you a suggestion what to focus on each email. So they are saying, okay, you need to speak to the persona, speak to the company, about the company role, and then again, company role, persona, company, so forth. Other sequence frameworks that I saw, for example, they are telling you, okay, you need to focus on a customer story, on, for example, 2 or 3 first email, or they are telling then you should follow with some visual for 2 emails, and then they are for example, share the content. So this is your starting point, because this is then that more or less you will have like this row, or the frame of, okay, this is how many emails I need, this is what I need to include. And once you have this, then you can take your email formulas. There is many email formulas. You can keep the same email formulas throughout this cadence. You can use different formulas for different steps. And here I give you one formula above. Here you have another formula from Winning by Design. It's relevance, reward, and request. So reward is basically a value. Reward is CTA or AIDA, that is very well known. It's attention, interest, desire, and action. Yeah, you can, if you want to learn more about it, you can probably Google both of them. Yes, so that's in terms of the picking the templates. Again, those are very important. So now step number 4. So how we inject and edit snippets or phrases. So we have the sequence outline. We have the formulas attached that we choose for each of the steps. Now we are starting to write, and here is a bigger time saver, because you are moving from being a copywriter to an editor. Even if you think that what I presented on step number 2, it seems a lot of work, believe me that once when you get a system in place, it's not. And the save of time that you will get by writing those emails is just like, you are just putting things together. You don't have to like, oh my God, what should I write in this email, or what I think it should work. So you are basically, moving from being a copywriter to being an editor. And here again, in green and in this orange or red, those are the snippets, and everything else is just like being an editor. But even here, you are referring to the buyer persona. So again, that's information that you have. Here also referring to a buyer persona, and this is just a CTA. And then I already talked about it to be clear, but just to outline one more time, people don't buy the best products. They buy the products that they can understand the fastest. So being clear, making sure that the points that you are making throughout the sequence are logic and connected, it's very important. So, so that in terms of this step. Now we are going to gathering marketing intel or intelligence. So this actually the step number 1 and step number 5, they are basically connected. The reason why I started with the number 1, because if you are not constantly, or like if you don't have a system in place to gather this intel, this is where you will start. You will just take what you have, analyze just to have like the first version, and then start to ask the questions. So to start asking the question to keep gathering the data. So the important thing piece here is that you need to define those questions, and you need to distribute it through your teams, to your team, meaning that not only salespeople should ask those questions, because they are asking those questions because they are of course selling, but the even most important piece here is to ask the questions during the customer success interactions, because when you are selling, that's a moment in time, but your buyers are changing faster than your messaging, and you can also capture that by talking to your current customers through the customer success support, and arm them with some questions. It's not about having 10 questions or 20 questions. No, it's like 5-6 questions. And again, they shouldn't ask all the 6 questions, but whenever they talk to someone, ask 1 question or 2 questions, and then just gather the input, just to make sure that you know exactly like what are the situation, what's their problem, etc., etc. those questions should come very naturally, like when they reach out to you because they have problems with someone or something in the tool, or they need some outcome. It's very easy to ask those follow-up questions. And normally those questions are built based on your current sales methodology and how you qualify leads. But if you don't have a framework in place, I put here the framework Winning by Design, that I think it's really, really simple. It's basically based on SPIN. You probably know this framework, but has two extra C, E, and D. So this framework tells you to build the question about the situation, so the status quo, questions about the pain, again, emotional or rational, question about the impact, critical event, what's the deadline? Because this is the very important piece in any sales process. Know the critical event, because that's what moves your deal forward. And then you also want to know the decision process. It's I mean, of course, it's important for salesperson, not so much for creating an email, but it's a part of the framework. That's what it is. But those first pieces, those are the most important areas to build the question about, and have like one up to 3 per each of the category. But again, don't ask all of them at once, because then you're basically interrogating a person, not having a conversation. So then optimize. Buyers are changing faster than your messaging. That's why you need to constantly monitor it. And that's when the keywords and extracting those keywords comes into place, and just, simply monitor the frequency. And you need to review your messaging at least quarterly. If not, it depends on how keywords are changing. That's something that you need to constantly monitor, and based on whether the keywords are changing or the conversion rate are going down, you need to adjust your messaging. And also, if you're just starting, you are keep optimizing until you get the 10% reply rates. And here I put it some A/B testing scenario examples. So in terms of optimization testing, in terms of the subject line, different keywords, different snippets, meaning different snippet tags. You can start with, like, for example, with the outcome, or you can start with the pain. See what triggers more people to click on email. Then another very important thing is the first line of the email, because this line, it's visible. Even if someone didn't open the email, it's still visible. So you don't want to waste this area, this first sentence to like, hey, how are you? Hope you are fine. No, you need to get straight to the point, because that's another point when you can spark the interest. So here again, different type of snippets, and also the sentence type. You can start with a question won't be visible, but people will see like how or what. You can buy a statement. So again, another test. So the first two things, they are mostly built to optimize the open rate. That's what you're going to get. That's the income that you're going to get from optimizing subject line and the first line of the email. In terms of the body and CTA, this is where you are optimized for the open rate. So in terms of the email body, you can test different email formulas. You can also test the different type of content. So sharing customer story, sharing a visual, meaning like screenshot or something, sharing a video, sharing a link to the content, or just, I'll just use any formulas. And then the same is with the CTA style. the best practice right now is not to ask for, I mean, at least in the US, it's more ask for the engagement. And if then ask, are you available tomorrow at 10 or something like that? It's more about starting the conversation and, hey, do you find this relevant? I would like to share with you more insights. And that's also what you have in the email example above that I shared with you. So that's pretty much it. Yeah, so where to start building that? Start small and then expand. So start with one market segment, with one persona, and gather conversation from one channel. As I said, in the US, calls are like the top priority, but in your case, maybe it's an email or maybe it's a customer chat or both. But focus on one and then add another. Keep tags simple. Again, because you wanna learn, you wanna start building. Don't overcomplicate it. Start it small. Start it simple on the high level. You can always narrow down for specific, for example, status quo tools that they are using, status quo processes, but that will comes later. Start simple. Don't overcomplicate. Pick few formulas. As I said, it's about just not spending too much time on oh my God, should I use this formula or this? No, okay, this is the sequence that we are running, and this is 3 email templates that we are going to use. Or for example, only one email template. Then focus on asking few questions. So again, I know from working with the customers that that's something that companies are not used to doing. So give them 3-4 questions just to start with. And then predefine A/B scenarios. So again, don't have a huge list of A/B testing scenarios. Just select, for example, as I have a list above, pick 6 and optimize it until you see the results. So that's it. And of course, so obviously this is what I'm doing for a living. So if you want to brainstorm how you can start and how to build those 5 steps, I'm happy to to schedule a brainstorming session with me. So yeah, just send me an email at kaya@playbookwiz.com, and that would be all. Did I talk longer than I should, or
No, it's perfectly fine.
Perfect.
So I have a few questions, but before I ask, I would let other people see what other people have questions. I don't have anything in chat, guys, yet. So ask away. You can also just unmute yourself and ask questions. It's an open discussions. We are only 18 people here.
Hello. Hey,
Hi,
Kaya.
how are you?
Hi. So this is Shruti, and I'm from ChargeBee. So we are a subscription and billing management platform based in India. So I have a few questions on specifically the sequencing template, right? So I work with the partnerships team, and we have a lot of partners and across different segments, persona, and at different stages in the partner life cycle. So some of them are not yet partners, they're partner prospects. Some of them are partners who are in a particular segment. So how many nurturings, campaigns can you run at a time, so that, and how many segments can there be? Because so that it does not become too complex, but at the same time, the messaging is kind of personalized and kind of relevant for the particular segment. So not just the nurturing campaigns in terms of emails, but also the touch points. And the second question that I had was, so you did mention that there are multiple templates for touch points. So what is it that you've used before and which has been successful for you?
Yep. Okay, so answering your first question, if I understand correctly, you are saying that you have different market segments and you have multiple campaigns running for segment personas, and what is like what is the amount of sequence that you should be running to make it optimal. You know what? Unfortunately, there is not right or wrong question here, besides the fact that you should keep it as simple as possible. Like I work for the company that, for example, have 600 campaigns. So, so that being said, have a segment, identify personas, and then have, you know, if you have a different type, so for example, outbound, inbound, and nurture, you know, keep it, and then if you want to test, if you want to have different, and then use more A/B testing to test different copy than creating new sequences, if that makes sense. Because it's just really about keeping, you know, so in this case, as I told you, the company that has 600 campaigns, that's actually like we build kind of tree for them. So those are the market segments. Those are the personas that normally initiate the conversation with you guys. And here you have the type of sequences. So that's like, you know, that's the tree that goes in. And then again, and then you try to keep it, you know, like one outbound, inbound, it really depends, but it's, you know, maybe one per channel. And then, so again, the answer is, you know, there's not, I cannot tell you 3 or 5, but it's just like, you know, try to just keep it as simple as possible. And and instead of creating new sequence each time you have new idea or you want to test something, just, you know, like stick to 4 email formulas and then test, you know, test sequences through the A/B testing, then creating, because then again, like it's just becoming unmanageable. And if you do this, if you keep it that way, you have clear A/B testing scenarios. It's also easier to personalize, because for example, if you test a keyword and you want to like add you know, like very personalized note at the beginning, then you okay, this is the keyword that is main trigger in this campaign, or like, or you, for example, you have 2 keywords, or, you know, so then when you do the research about this person, you are just looking for these keywords or anything that it's related. So it's just like shorten, you know, it's shorten the time to creating those emails. So that does that answer it? I wish I could tell you like 2, 3, 5, but it's not, unfortunately, it's not that. And in terms of the, you know, in terms of the email templates, the one that I'm using the most are actually added here. So I use the one, I use all of them that are in this presentation. But to be honest, any formula is going to work for you if you are going to like use everything what I put on the left. So if I go back to like, you know, be relevant, be clear, show value, and educate, it's going to work. And plus taking into consideration that there are emotional pain points, rational pain points, speaker buyer language, any formula basically is going to work for you. So it's not, and focusing on the customer, not on your product. So that's, you know, that being said, any formula will work. But the one that I like the most, I already posted in this sequence. So sorry, not sequence, sequence in this presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kaya.
I think maybe Shruti can drop an email to Kaya to organize a quick session to get the exact answer what you're looking for.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll
no, I can. Yeah, I am happy to, like, you know, I'm happy to you know, to share more knowledge around it, because I am, as I said, I focus more on the product, not the, you know, not building 20 sequences for customers. So I'm happy to to give you just, you know, some insights.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we are actually a bit on time now, so we should move
Okay.
to the next presentation, and then we can have more questions after the end of second presentation of the second speaker. If you guys
Perfect.
don't mind, I just have one quick question, Kaya, before we move forward. What is Playbook Whiz about?
Yes, so Playbook Whiz, it's taking your conversation and turning them into the snippets or phrases that I was just talking about and help you create the emails at the same time. So basically everything what I told you about here, you can automate. But I wanted to share it with you the methodology that it's behind the Playbook Whiz, because that's something that you can use even without Playbook Whiz. So
are you saying that all the tedious work that you just said we should do to improve our replies and get more leads, Playbook Whiz just automates all the tedious part of that?
Yes, and what I'm saying is try it for yourself to see the first results, and then see that you will have to automate it.
All right, perfect.
That's the message.
That's fantastic.